Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully everything is live and a-okay. If you guys could let me know if the stream's going ahead fine, that'd be brilliant. That's fantastic. Okay. So, yep, a little bit later than normal, but we are still early, so that's fine. We'll be getting ready for the stream just shortly, so I'm just going to start to load things up right now. How is everybody doing today, then? Hello there, Kamistar. How you doing, my friend? Solar, how are you doing? Okay. Salute there indeed, Spearhead. So yes, we are back. We have only a few moments now until we begin the stream proper. So I thought I'd jump in, try to catch up with you guys first of all, make sure everything is working. I was a little bit rushed. Place your bets, people. Will XTRG complete a full turn tonight? Ooh, we should be able to get to a full turn. We should be able to finish a turn today. That shouldn't be an issue. One turn, I don't know about two. We'll have to see about two. That is going to be the question there. Your bet should be on, are we actually going to have a second turn? Indeed. I mean, we do have quite a few more things to do, first of all. But not too much, not too much. Hello, Enohauser. Yeah, I was a little bit later today with getting the stream going. A bloody, I bought a rail attachment for my airsoft rifle. And the bloody cheap-ass metal. It's like warped. So I can't get the goddamn thing off, so I'm going to have to get like a little hacksaw and get that biatch off. Well, that's what you get for buying cheap Chinese crap. That's not stereotype. It's actually from China. I love your large campaign series, taught me how to play, and very enjoyable too. Well, that's really good to know, my friend. Was that in one of the East or one of the Pacific? Or even one of the West? God, I've done quite a few. And just waiting until I start doing Getty Grisby's Bombing the Reich, and then we have 4 Getty Grisby games. And then hopefully one day we'll have one in the East too, which is being worked on, so it shouldn't be too long. Maybe a year, something like that. Hopefully, that's not insider knowledge, that's just me being hopeful. It is good to be back. I have genuinely been looking forward to this, and I am really quite excited. The Vistula to the BerlinScenario is really quite amazing. So I'm just going to share the link out myself, get that out there, get a few more people onto the stream, ideally. Okay. How's everybody doing today, then? I do hope everybody has had a great day. Hello there, Jaculos. How you doing, my friend? Ah, Grey Knight. I see you every now and then. Right then. So we have only mere moments until the stream begins in proper. This should be fun. Aye, indeed. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Welcome to the actual start of the stream today. So, we are once again continuing with the Vistula to Berlin scenario. Now, this scenario takes place in 1945, when the Germans and the Axis forces in general are quite and truly deep in the mud, let's say. We have established a shaky defensive line, one that may have a chance of holding. I do not put great bets on this, I do not make guarantees upon this line. It is certainly a line, there are no gaps There are weaknesses, certainly weaknesses, but there are no gaps. So at least we have that behind us. So, we have to now complete the final details of this turn before we can proceed to the next one. And that will come in with the Luftwaffe. So, the Luftwaffe does offer us certain benefits, of course. Obviously, having the air cover is very advantageous. Now, what I'm going to do is... do we consider running a reconnaissance? Well, a series of reconnaissance flights. Now, the Soviets do have a massive advantage in the air against us. And it's certainly quite dangerous. So, it's really... it does worry me. I don't want to throw away my actual valuable planes. So let's see, we'll go to the commander's report. Equipment, ideally. Can I see my aircraft here? Okay, I'm only seeing the actual... oh, there we go, aircraft. Righto. So let's go with only the Axis. Let's see. Yeah, okay. What I want to see by is type. So we do have jet fighters, which is rather interesting. What I would like to see is their sort of availability. Though, first of all, we are going to be taking a look at their statistics. I want to figure out what their altitude is, what they're actually quite effective in. So let's figure out what we have the most of. Okay, yeah, there you go. Just listen to the new Hauser there, my friend, and he will guide you to success. Okay, so let's take a look at the air. Now we do have some Hungarian planes, which is rather interesting. It's nice to know. So if we go by types, we actually take a look at fighters, night fighters, actual fighters. Also, do bear in mind, I've thrown in some soundtracks from Gary Grigsby's Bombing the Reich. So I have music from the West, the East, and Bombing of the Reich. I could throw in some of the Pacific soundtracks. I'd have to see if they could match the theme though. But I think some of them are truly fantastic. Okay. So the Bf-109 G14 is our mainstay. Okay, 20mm cannons. Wow, cannon. Wow, that's not exactly great, is it? Okay, so this seems to be the one that we have the vast majority of. We do have the Bf-109 G14/AS. Decent number of those bad boys. The Focke-Wulf 190s are truly our greatest interceptors. Focke-Wulf 190. Yeah, look at the difference in armament there. That's considerable. Okay, so it might be that we even turn the fighter bombers to a actual pure fighter role. We do need to figure out what we have and where we have it. Indeed, one in the west, one in the east is truly a superb game. Okay. So we do have Heinkels over here. These are level bombers. They're not exactly great, are they? So this is my doctrine. I really don't want to be running much of... yeah, AS is more of a high altitude version. How can I find one of the East original soundtracks outside of playing the game? If you go into the actual files, into the data, into the sound files, you can find that there, assuming you own the game. Okay. We really don't have much here. We have a lot of what seems to be... wait, here we go. Go away there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Okay, so they do count as the tactical bombers then. Right, Focke-Wulfs. What do we have in terms of the actual reserve here? We do have a decent number of Focke-Wulfs. That's actually really quite encouraging to see that. Yes, tactical bombers, fighters, fighter bombers. Okay, that's actually pretty damn nice. Yeah, indeed. Windows 10 is annoying for this, it just allows random updates to come out. I apologise for that being a little bit unprofessional, we'll get things back under wraps. Okay. What we need to figure out here then is really... do I run reconnaissance? What we'll do then is we'll go over here. We'll go to our doctrines. Now, percent required to fly. Reconnaissance, ground support, recon, escort. Do we escort our reconnaissance? Yeah, the middle salient is rather dangerous. I think what we'll do then is... this is it. I really don't know if I should escort these reconnaissance planes. I know I'm going to lose them, but I don't want to lose my fighters. But you know what? We do need to have those planes. We do need to have that reconnaissance. So we are going to run these reconnaissance flights here. I'm using the AI to do this just to speed things up. We're going to do this so we can actually figure out what we're dealing with exactly. Is the music a little bit too loud for you guys? I'm just going to turn it down just a tad there. Okay. So let's reduce the actual details of the messages here. Okay. Now, how many planes did I lose there? That's the question. So if we take a look at the air losses here. Since your last turn, Axis turn. Okay. That was actually really good, so we only lost 3 reconnaissance planes. I'm fairly happy with that one then. So if we take a look obviously on the ground, what's the primary reconnaissance? I suppose your primary reconnaissance is obviously going to be the flight, but then again, the units here on the front line have a certain level of reconnaissance inherent in them, as obviously they can see certain levels of the enemy. They'll be able to work out what sort of unit they're facing, roughly their strength, and sometimes even their actual designation. Like, for example, the 103rd Rifle Corps. We don't know much about this one, but at least we can see some small information. What I would like to do, though, is I'm going to take manual control of reconnaissance over here. And I am going to right-click here so we can run some reconnaissance flights. I'm going to put the message level up here. Okay, so we can see here that they do have LAF 5Ns, LA7s, Yak 3s. Okay, so this is the range of our reconnaissance here. You can see the grayed out areas. These are areas where we cannot reach our reconnaissance over here. What I do want to figure out really is how deep these Soviet lines are. This area does rather intrigue me. So what we'll do is we'll do another auto reconnaissance run here. That's very true. I'm not seeing a huge number of Soviet planes here. Okay, we're turning the level of detail down here. Right, so that seems to be all we're capable of for the time being. We can see here that we do have airfields not too far away from the front lines. The Soviet armoured corps over here, well, armoured corps are an issue. This middle salient is obviously going to be a big problem. This bulge is a massive problem. We do have Panzer Grenadiers and armoured nearby, Panzers nearby, to actually aid in that. I think what we need to consider then is where our Luftwaffe forces are going to go, where the Luftwaffe is going to be concentrated. I don't believe in spreading the love out too far, so to say. I like my Luftwaffe to be concentrated in pivotal areas. I like to use it as more of a hammer than a shield, more of a blade than... I don't know. It is in fact a blade. It needs to be used offensively. It needs to be used to its greatest effect. So at the moment, let's take a look at our actual doctrines. So our doctrines here, percentage required to fly, I'm going to lower that to about 40% here. Actually make that 30%. I need to make sure we have more planes in the air. Right. Well, more missions being run. So this is interceptions by fighters. We're not obviously going to be doing any city attack runs at this time, are we? Airfields we don't need to bother about, as that's not going to be happening. Ground attacks, obviously this is the percentage required to run a ground attack mission. We don't need to worry about that. Ground support. I'm going to lower the escort to about 80%. At least then we'll have planes spare. Now then, if we take a look at where the Soviet airfields are, we can see obviously when we select bomb airfield, it does highlight the Soviet airfields in red, so at least we can actually see where they are based. It seems like the Soviets don't have too much of their air strength in play at this moment. Didn't actually mean to do that, but we'll see how that goes. The enemy there actually lost a fighter, so fair enough. That's what I get for right-clicking. Okay. Percent required to fly is a bad mechanic, because if your fighter air group drops into the max number of planes in the air group, they will not fly. It is a little bit of a iffy subject. I do like how the air war is fought in War in the Pacific. I do think that's definitely one of the best. I mean, Bomb the Reich is rather intriguing. Very detailed in terms of the air war. Okay. So I think the actual Luftwaffe should be concentrated in this middle area, in the centre. Just outside of Lodz, I would say. I mean, this is obviously something we do have to concentrate. So we have Flieger Corps over here. Do we have another Flieger Corps? So this is the Luftflottille 6. Right, we do have the 24th Panzer Division to sign as well. But what we need to do then is, do we actually move our planes closer to the front line? It is a question, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to consider the rail lines here. They are all on the rail lines, which is quite good. What I'd like to do is actually reduce the distance between our fighters. Okay, so this airbase actually does not have any planes present. How many flights, how many aircraft do we actually have here? Okay. Germany. Okay. Yeah, the density is rather interesting. So the numbers of aircraft are rather middling here. Not a huge amount. So you're attached to Army Group Center, Army Group A, Luftflottille 6. Obviously, this is the overall command here. We really don't have that much in terms of air power. That's for damn sure. Right. Are you covering central Germany? What do we have there? I mean, fairness, this is a fair number of planes. That's 293 aircraft. That's actually a considerable number of Focke-Wulf 190s. Night fighters. Reconnaissance and strategic reconnaissance, which is rather intriguing. Okay, so what we are going to do then is we are going to move up the flotilla over this way. I think they're not doing anything really too viable over here. Of course, they are protecting the center of Germany, but that's not very good. Note to put in a request for Bomb the Reich when subscriber request becomes available. Indeed, I'd like to play that myself. Okay, so what is the actual cost of transportation here? 1,125. We really don't have the capacity to transport them via rail. So what we will do then is we will move them via other means. We'll keep them together to avoid separating them. Hello there, Pixel. How are you doing, my friend? Fantastic to see you once again. Okay, so what I will do is I will have you assigned to Army Group Center. Then again, that might be a little bit too much. We'll keep you under the command of Oberkommando de Herr. I think that would probably be the easiest method. Okay, so in terms of our other flotillas here. So Army Group A, 411 aircraft. Night fighters, so these would be the Bf-109s, tacticals. We do still have some dive bombs, so Junker 88s. The Focke-Wulfs are what I'm really interested in. These bad boys are rather dangerous. So I think what we need to do then is strengthen the 6th Luft Flotilla Ostprussian. Okay, so this is East Prussia. Since this airfield is actually out of range anyway. Okay, so what I can do is I can keep them near Königsberg. At least then they are going to be near sources of AA or support, as we do have the defensive fortifications over here. So they will have to fly over them. Okay. Yeah. I can only apologise about the size of the text. There may be a way for me to increase that. I will have to endeavour to find out in the following streams. Okay. So we've organised that into a tighter coordination. I think all we need to do then is increase the actual fighter complement over here. So I do have a great number of Focke-Wulfs. What I will have is BF-109s over here. Hello, Van Bishop. How you doing, my friend? Okay, so we'll assign a squadron over this way. Another squadron here. Okay. What are our numbers looking like now? So these numbers have increased, which is very good to see. We do need to be careful. We don't want to assign all our aircraft all at once. I do need to keep some in reserve. I think we need to actually move these, Right, okay, so the Luftwaffe in East Prussia is... it's going to be able to cover this area fairly effectively. At least somewhat effectively. I think we do need to concentrate our fighters more towards the centre, more towards Lodz. Okay. Our fighter intercept should be as small as possible. Okay. We'll take a look at that. I apologise for getting a little bit tongue-tied. Always happens, you know. I get so excited for these streams. Okay, so what we'll do then is we'll go ahead with that. We'll alter our flight doctrines. I'll lower the percentage required to fly to about 10% there. I will actually... I'm going to ignore the interception. Night fighter, potentially so. But fighter interception I'm going to just turn off. I would like to actually use all of our planes for what they're needed for. Now, the case is, do I run ground support? And I'm going to go with no. I think what I need to do is establish, or at least try to establish somewhat, air supremacy. Well, then again, no. I need... Perhaps we do go with ground support to begin with, then. Probably in an effective manner. I am somewhat worried about the actual location of these airfields. I think it might be safer to move these guys possibly just east of Breslau. Potentially around Kepnel. Yeah, just behind the river here. Okay. We'll keep them near the villages, of course, on the rail line so that they can be supplied quite easily. Now what I'm doing here is I'm keeping my airfields quite close together. The reason for that is I want them to be closely coordinated. I want to have them nearby so they can support each other. There's a lot of reasons to keep your airfields quite separate, as it does give you greater coverage, which is what I'm doing more so over this way. I want to make sure we do have a little bit of a wider coverage, as we do have a greater strength in this area. But what we need to do then is... we do have panzers over this way, which I can't move too easily. I could fly more fighters into this area, as of course this area is going to be under intense pressure. That is certainly a good question. Okay. What is the command over here? Luft Flotilla 1. So let's take a look at those numbers then. There's really not many aircraft here. We do need a bunch more fighters. We do have transports, which is rather interesting. Okay. We really don't have a huge amount of transport. Righto. So what we're going to do then is we're actually going to take the transports away. I'm going to put them in the reserve. Then what I'll do is I'll have them assigned to the flotilla here by Königsberg in East Prussia. The reason being those transports can then be rather safe in their position. We'll use them to fly in well-needed supplies into the Kurland pocket. I don't want to have these guys taken out. Right, so I can only disband them. So I can't send them to reserve as of this moment in time. Okay, return aircraft to the replacement pool. We'll keep them here for the time being then. Let's take a look at our level of supply. Right. We're actually lacking ammunition in a massive way. That's really not a good situation. So this is Army Group North. Let's try and figure out Army Group North's supply demands. Okay, clear all these filters. So, Army Group North. Okay. If I go by the table of equipment here, we can actually see the extent of the damage, which is pretty heavy. You can see here that a lot of these units obviously don't have their full complement. We're looking at about 75% strength here, if that. Right. Event log, perhaps. Yeah, that's true. Well, the reasoning is I don't want to have the transports within the pocket. I'd rather have them based outside of the pocket in Königsberg. So then at least we can actually move them. Well, obviously we will fly supplies in there. What I'm trying to figure out is where my supplies are being sent. I want to know how many are being received and how many are required. Okay. The forecast is still right, so snow and blizzards over here. Snow is not too bad. It's not the greatest thing for us right now. Okay, so let's take a look at supply details. Right, they're actually capable. They don't have all the vehicles that they need, but that's not too bad. Okay, so Army Group North, how are your supply details? It seems we do need to fly in ammunition here. So what we're going to do then is... let's actually give this a colour. Oh, God. I really don't know the colours. So, try 100. Not a big fan of that colour. Let's try a different one, shall we? Okay, that works for me. That's not a bad green, actually. Quite like that. Okay, so what we will do then is we have the 18th Army over here. The 18th Army is close by to its support units, but I would like to have them ideally a little bit closer. So you will be moved over to the port over there. Same as Army Group North will be moved to the port here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this security unit out here, send that to the town. The headquarters will move here. Okay, 16th Army. Yeah, I'm aware that they don't use ammunition, but what I'm trying to figure out is really how much ammunition usage our units are using. I'm taking a look at the actual headquarters, obviously, to see their fuel and actual supplies. Not so much the ammunition. I didn't make that one too clear, to be fair. Okay. Ammunition isn't in great surplus. I will fly in ammunition here. Okay, let's take a look here then. What I want to do then is actually have a airfield over the army headquarters so that they can actually move those units in there pretty quickly. The fortified zone is what we've just placed down there. So what we're going to do then is we're going to bring this fortress brigade online, reactivate you. Okay, put you where the headquarters is. Okay, move this airfield down this way. In fact, we'll just move you here. Right, fantastic. Air transport mode. Okay. So what I did there is I just right-clicked. If we shift right-click, we can actually gain more options here, so we can actually see what we're using, or what we will send. I can actually select the unit to send it to as well. So what I'll do then is I'll have that sent to the air base over here. Okay. So what we're going to do then is, I think we should be okay with just that amount of escort. I'm going to fly in their supply, so we'll do that. Okay, I've not seen any interceptions, so that's really quite good. I mean, to look at that, only 2 fucker wolves, so not exactly the greatest deal of escorts anyway. Okay, I'm going to fly in their supply. Right, we did lose a utility plane, but we aren't seeing any Soviet forces intercepting us here. So that's actually really quite nice. Okay, we'll put some escorts in there. Right, now they did fly over Soviet forces, so there was quite a lot of AA there. We didn't lose too much, so that's not too bad. I still have this division here. I will have this division assigned to the village here. I'm going to put that onto reserve. These divisions over here, I think it probably would be for the best if we march them. Now that I say that, I'm going to keep them fresh. I'm going to keep them here, I'm going to keep them available and ready for action. So we have our core over here. So this core is attached to Army Group Center, so this is the Panzer Corps. So these forces are obviously under the command. They're not under the command of the 4th Army as of yet, but it depends on really what the 4th Army can actually handle. So we'll clear our filters here. Headquarters. Clear that filter. Right, so what I want to see here then is the actual individual armies. Okay. So 4th Army could do with a little bit of help there. The issue is that these forces aren't exactly doing too well. Yeah, that's a good point that's being raised here, is the supply MP. So for example, if we take a look at our infantry units over here, if we go to their supply details, well, we can actually see here in supply 7 MP. So that is the actual MP cost to move. So you can see here the range to rail is 2, the MP to the rail is 7. Range to headquarters is 2, MP to headquarters is 8. So what units will do then is, if they're unable to source supplies from the headquarters, they will go to the rail. So that's good to see. Okay, so we can actually see here more details. That's intriguing. I'd love to take Riga. Riga would be beautiful to have there. That's another major port that we could use then. And another port over there would be superb. Okay. What we'll do then is we'll assign a few more Luftwaffe planes over to this area. More so here. So you can see here these airfields do have a limit of aircraft that they can actually support. What I mean by that is the amount of supplies obviously within the airfield, and ideally vehicles. I don't want to be like throwing too much onto them. Okay, some Focke-Wulf 190s here. That'll do just fine. What I was looking at here, so this number here, just to clarify, is the total number of aircraft. So that's the total number of aircraft, that's the ready number of aircraft. Okay. Yes, indeed. Always keep your units within 5 hexes of your headquarters. If you have your units within 3 hexes of your headquarters, I do believe they can actually use the support from the headquarters. So, for example, let's take a look at our troops over here, our headquarters over here. So we do have the 424th Heavy Panzer Battalion. Now, this Heavy Panzer Battalion will be able to aid these forces nearby within range. So yes, I've got to apologise for being a little bit tongue-tied this time round. Definitely not intended. Was a little bit rushed, as I did have a few issues before the stream. But here we are ready for the first turn. So, are you guys ready to see how things turn out? Because you know what, I don't know how bad things are going to get. So we will hope for the best. So I want you guys to just remember this line here, and we'll see how broken it is afterwards. But quickly, before I do forget, we do need to take a look at the 24th Panzer Division and really decide where to move them. Their fuel isn't very good right now, so what I'm going to do is actually put them on refit for now. Get some actual supplies into them, make sure they're ready to go. This force over here, can I move you via rail? I can't afford to move you via rail. What is your load cost? Your load cost is actually really quite high. So it may be a case of we have to move them manually, but I will endeavour to save our logistics. I don't want to be moving too much when I can... well, via the road network. I don't want to move them like that. Okay, I do have another infantry division over here. How much would that cost? 1,834. Okay, actually that's not too bad. We will throw another division out here then. I think this division would definitely benefit in... this area here. I would say this is our weakest area. So they can form a garrison in Lodz, have them come off the trains, have them assigned to a headquarters nearby. Yes, so they will remain here in Lodz. Okay? Morale isn't too good. It is definitely rather poor. You can see the morale of most of the Soviet units are very high, which can't be said for our own forces. So what we will do then is we'll go ahead into the following turn. So let's see how this turns out. I'm really quite curious. I would like to hold on to Warsaw. My worst nightmare would be Warsaw being encircled with forces inside. But holding on to Warsaw, I think, is worthwhile. As really a defensive fortress, the urban centre really does provide me a terrific anchor point. And between Lodz and Warsaw, that is quite a short distance. So it could make for a very effective line, really. Okay. So we are seeing the Soviets advance here already. Our forces hold. Now that is a huge amount of force there. The 16th Panzer Division retreats. That was 157,000 men. Okay, so the fortified zone is taken. Okay, now this is quite dangerous. I really do not want to see another pocket form. Now that's good. That's very good. When we have individual infantry divisions holding onto their ground, that really does mean a lot for me. Okay, those forces are going to be destroyed. There's nothing that can be done about that. The Soviet advance is looking rather interesting. We can see obviously their armoured corps are moving up quite aggressively. They do seem to be funding themselves. Okay, now this is very important. So we are dealing with the 5th Shock Army in this area. Now that is a massive battle. Okay, can I just point out here, so Warsaw has fallen, but can I just point out the sheer numbers of troops here? So that was 344,998 infantry, 8,766 pieces of artillery, 664 pieces of armor, so AFVs. The losses here have been absolutely considerable for our own. Look at the numbers in the air. Those are huge numbers. They have lost very little. Okay, so Warsaw has indeed fallen to the Soviets. However, we do still have our forces here. They were not trapped within the city, which is actually arguably better. I was hoping Warsaw would last more than one turn, but it seems we are not so fortunate. The 25th Panzer Division is forced to retreat. Right, we do hold on the banks of the Vistula. That is really quite encouraging. Though the second attack does manage to fold them. Okay, so some of our forces are being routed here. Wow. Okay, so the Brandenburg Panzer Grenadier Division is forced to retreat. So we were right in sending the Panzer Grenadiers to this central area. This is indeed where the vast majority of the Soviets are forcing themselves. Oh, we're having an issue here? Oh, okay. One moment, guys. Let me see if I can solve that out. Is that all Twitch channels? Hmm. Okay, if you guys can hear me, do let me know. You can hear clicking. Okay. So we can hear something then. Right, you can hear me. Okay, I'm not seeing any visuals. This is rather intriguing. Okay, I'm seeing visuals now on my end. Are you guys getting anything? Yeah, looks like everything's working out on my end. If you guys could give me some sort of confirmation, hopefully we might be able to get the stream back underway. Okay, starting to see some yeses here. Okay. Right then. So I think what we will do today then is we will take the stream on for a bit longer then to make up for this sort of hoo-ha. That, and of course, it does give me time to warm up even further. So we'll see if we can get through another turn. Okay. Right, we seem like we're back, so we'll carry on as we are then. So here we are. The Kurland pocket is under attack. Now, this is not what I was hoping for, so it seems our lines have broken over here, and we are being pushed back from the Riga direction. Now, these numbers are rather severe. The Soviets do need to outnumber us by some heavy margins to achieve breakthroughs, so at least that is something worth remembering. It does not seem as though the Soviets are able to really make the most of their gains there in the north. So we are pushed back there in the centre. That's not too terrible. As long as we hold our positions there, opposing Riga, then we do have a potential to hold the line. Even here while we are pushed back, that's not too terrible. As long as the Soviets are not able to actually exploit their positions, their newfound positions. Now that is rather poor, I was not hoping for that. Now thank God for that. We need to hold this port at absolutely all costs. Okay, so we're all working fantastic. So yes, as I said, the stream will go on a little bit longer than to make up for this hoo-ha. And to make up for my general terrible presentation skills today. I tell you, sometimes I get so tongue-tied. What does concern me quite heavily is the fact that we're not really inflicting too many casualties upon the Soviet forces. We're only inflicting a couple hundred, and that's really not too good. To say, for the numbers that we are losing, it is quite severe. Not so much here, which is quite nice, to be honest. I do feel that we are quite secure in this position. The river line should hold. I fear we will see breakthrough by the Soviets probably here more than anything. I do have 45 divisions able to fill in the gap though, so that is something that is quite nice. Ideally what we need to engineer is a situation where the Soviets are going to push themselves forward too far. Then ideally we can get in behind them and their flanks and cut them off. I need to reduce Soviet strength. I don't think I could actually destroy these divisions or these corps, but if I can cut them off from supply for long enough, I can starve them out and deal with them that way. Okay, the Panzer Grenadiers are forced to retreat. And we only lose about 9 AFVs there, so not a huge amount. That did see a lot of the Soviet strength there, Soviet potential expended. Okay. We need to be ambitious. We need to be able to inflict blows upon the Soviets. We need to actually cut the Red Army's head off. We need to remove her armor. Something I'm enjoying here quite severely, well, quite remarkably, is the fact that the Soviets aren't obviously making these gains. They're not really able to follow up on them too much. Now, the Red Army forces have pushed up here. They are starting to exploit these gains. However, that's going to work out for us, as they're going to concentrate in a smaller area. So the combat width will reduce. So I can fill in these gaps with fresh troops behind them as well. Okay, these numbers are increasing slightly, which is quite nice. Now that's better. That certainly isn't. Now this is worrying. Okay, we suspected they would be forced to retreat. Yes, it is indeed a large breakthrough, but the Soviets are unable to exploit it at the moment. Well, I'm really quite fearful of this. We need to pull back from this position. That is a lot of ground lost. But at the end of the day, that ground means absolutely nothing to me. I was hoping the Panzer Grenadiers would have been able to really put some more backbone into the defensive lines. I suppose they have, but at the end of the day, we are dealing with thousands upon thousands of troops here, as well as a massive numerical superiority of the Red Army in terms of guns and AFVs, so that is a big issue. The Luftwaffe does need to be strengthened considerably. The Soviets are enjoying complete air supremacy in some areas. Yeah, I would say probably better vehicles. At the end of the day, they have vehicles to actually support their logistics arm as well. Their units, for the most part, will not be lacking too much in terms of actual logistics. A Guards Army in 45 is going to get T-34/85s and IS-2s. Yeah, IS-2s are definitely quite dangerous. The Hungarian front is rather intriguing. I should be able to hold on here. The terrain is just absolutely superb. Having the mountains, having the hilly, rough terrain really does make for a very effective defensive position, and it is certainly one I need to hold. If we were able to, I'd absolutely adore to break them here, just into the plateau, into the actual plains here. And if I was able to retake a position in the Carpathian Mountains, I would be so goddamn happy. Right, so overall the Red Army has made certain gains, but they've not really been able to exploit them. For the most part, the defensive line has more or less held. Not perfectly. We haven't been able to achieve a full 100% deflection of Soviet attacks, but we do have certain areas that we can actually hold them. I suppose surrounding those bulges when outnumbered is infeasible. What we need to do is we need to keep the Soviet forces in check at all times. I simply cannot afford to allow them any space. If I give them space, they will certainly use it to beat me with. So if we take a look here then. Yes, the losses here are rather high. So 88,498 Soviet losses. 43,000 of their men were killed. Our own losses aren't too bad, I suppose. 80,933. Not too bad. 20,000 men, however, have been captured, which is rather disappointing. Further 14,787 disabled. They did see 12,000 men return to active service. Now, what really does concern me is the loss of guns here. The loss of AFVs is rather concerning as well, 224 AFVs. We don't have that many AFVs to begin with, so if we actually take a look at the actual numbers here, within the order of battle, we do still have a good amount of AFVs. Well, a somewhat good amount. It's a issue, though, that the Soviets have a huge They almost have 3 times the number of AFVs. Though, in fairness, the Red Army is actually not too bad in the AFV front. They do have very, very good armoured forces. They don't quite have an overwhelming majority. Sure, they may have just about 2.5 times the numbers that we have, but that's not too bad. Yes, it's certainly not a win, especially considering our manpower restraints. But we'll take it where we can get it. We have to find small victories. Okay. So if we take a look then, we'll bring up the drawing tool, and we'll try and figure out what we can actually do here. Okay, so using red then. Actually, let's go with black. We'll establish our front line. Okay, so we actually managed to hold off over here in the north, which was absolutely superb. So that area has held on quite nicely. We have been pushed back from this area over here, which is a shame. But if we take a look here, then the Soviets are... they're advancing on a rather broad front at the moment. Of course, they're trying to penetrate in this area in a more narrow corridor. But that's going to work against them, really. So if we take a look, in terms of actual forces... I've seen mostly infantry here. Infantry, of course, is very, very powerful, but they're not very mobile. So I can actually hold that at bay for the time being. So let's see what we have here. We do have tank calls within here, but let's find out how much. Guards Breakthrough Artillery Division, Heavy Mortar Brigade, Army Gun Artillery Brigade. So they do have a large amount of artillery in this area. But at the end of the day, they only have 2 armoured cores here. That's not actually a great deal. So I can actually hold that. So let's see here. In terms of defensive positions, what could we do? What could we do to actually hold the front line? How can we make this work? How do we protect the Reich today? Now if I was to really take a look then, we'll go and, well... let's try to figure out our best defensive position. So this is the one that we have right now. How do we refine this? How do we make this stronger? Do we give any ground, or do we set up a secondary defensive line? I'd say that we actually keep a good number of troops on the front line. The reason is we're going to send more, well, troops to the second line here, which I would say... Now this town is on the front line, but that does form a very good defensive position. But I would say probably something like this as a second line here. So this would be our first line. I'd say here as our secondary. Yeah. You've got to give me a break here. I'm using a mouse here. It's actually really difficult to write using this. It's actually remarkably difficult. I could do it like a stylus. Bulge in tiny circles. Well, this is how strategy has worked out, my friends. Okay, so we're going to go in the same way that we did in the previous stream and highlight our urban centres, as we can use this to actually establish where our defensive positions are going to be. So these are the ones that immediately... God, my awful drawing. Okay. So obviously drawing the forest, of course, with the green. Or at least highlight it. Okay, these are the forested areas that matter for the time being. So what we have to point out here is the fact that we do have the swamp areas here. These work quite well. So if we take a look, the defensive line does work something like this. Our rivers are effective barriers in the game. They are very effective when the rivers aren't frozen. Right now, we're in blizzard-like conditions, so these rivers are frozen over solid, and these rivers are navigable. Well, crossable. They are able to be crossed by forces in general, with relative ease compared to obviously when they're thawed out and flowing. So we can see here that we do have potential for a secondary line. So if we take a look, we can see that overlaid on the map here. Now, this position is rather interesting. Do I actually fall back? If I take a look at my fortified positions here, what I could do is I could pull these forces back over here. Now, of course, this is going to give ground to the Soviets, but that would actually help alleviate the pressure on my lines. I really do enjoy drawing on the map. It is honestly one of my favourite things here. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go back, and we are going to actually withdraw to a degree. Now, these forces aren't looking too mobile. So steady retreat would be the best idea. So we have the 561st, we have the 548th. If we take a look, we have... these guys are all mixed up, so 551st, 548th. Okay, send them to their home forces. Let's build them up again. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so the 5th Panzer Division is going to actually head over here to the headquarters. We will move our forces back over here. The Führer isn't going to like this plan. Well, the Führer will have to hold on for the time being. To be honest, I wouldn't say the Führer would argue too much with this plan. This plan really involves not giving up too much ground, but at least giving up ground when it does make sense, where our troops aren't going to be encircled. Well, those are the positions we're going to move to. For example, this ground, this area here is dangerous. Dangerous beyond words. We have armoured forces all across our flanks. We have a vast amount of Soviets. What we need to do is we need to actually exploit this situation. If I pull back here, that is going to mean the combat width is going to shorten, which is going to certainly help me. What I need to do is actually hold on till the weather changes. So if I go here to the logistic phase event, we can see here snow, blizzards. So the weather forecast isn't going to bring us any relief as of yet. Yeah, the cities are the linchpins. They are the keystones. They are the things that will make these defensive lines work. So let's see here. I can fall back small degrees. It's the center I need to hold. Okay, so this core needs to move closer here to the north. There we go. Now, I do have supporting forces available now. These are the forces from Mamel, which has been conquered as of this turn. But we do have a good amount of force here. I can really start to stiffen things up. Now, there's no reason for me to advance across here as there's no urban area. Had there been a city, I would have loved to have taken it, at least, sorry, a town. But of course, that is just a hex further along. Then there is reason to take this. If I can hold this here, once the rivers do fall, that would be a good position. Okay. So I will advance my infantry over here. What we will do then is take... well, this force is absolutely done for the time being. So what I can do here is I could move the 58th Division. Well... no, I can't move the 58th. Okay. We'll pull artillery back over here. Have them set to reserve. Okay, the new infantry will move into this area. They are going to be on, ideally, reserve if we can manage that. No, only ready. Okay. Right. You are slightly overburdened, so I need to move a... okay, this force over here can actually be attached to this new command. That's not an issue in the slightest. Okay, so we'll move them over there. That is going to make things significantly easier. Now, what we need to do here is hold them. Just hold them in this position. We do have a great number of forces. So this is the 3rd Panzer Army. The 3rd Panzer Army is looking pretty healthy for the time being. Okay, so none. 3rd Panzer Army. So 3rd Panzer Army is actually in good health. That's a lot of strength there. That's indeed a lot of strength. The individual armies, they should do okay. At least in this sector. We were pushed back over here, but we did receive absolutely nothing in this area. So what I might do is actually transfer these 3 divisions over here, as well as potentially the Panzer Division into this area. This area is by far the most dangerous. As of this moment, there are definitely 2 major holes over here. There's a big issue. Now, the terrain. This area is going to be rather intriguing. So what we'll do is we'll draw on the front line. That gives us context. Okay. So Warsaw has fallen, which is actually rather disappointing. I was hoping that Warsaw would have held out a little bit longer, as Warsaw would have provided a really quite effective defensive position to have held. But we are not that lucky. Our former positions were roughly... we definitely held... possibly this? Possibly the prior defensive positions? Of course, we did hold Warsaw here. So we have certainly been pushed back. So if we take a look at what we have available to us then. So using red, I will draw on, obviously, the urban centres. Now, Lodz is certainly worthy of being called an urban centre. The smaller ones are still very defensible. And they are certainly worth holding on to, and in fact, even trying to recapture if possible. This one sadly is out of our reach. I don't imagine we'd have much luck in that one. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it relatively close to the front line. And what we'll do then is we'll look for, obviously, natural barriers. I know this looks a little bit farcical trying to draw these on here. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you guys the greatest degree of visibility to what we have going on here. I want to show you guys as much as possible so that the explanations and the reasoning behind my thoughts and decisions are made easily accessible. Okay, we do have a lot of forest over in this area. The 3rd Panzer actually survived the onslaught and moved west to surrender to Montgomery. Yeah, they got off quite lucky there. Okay. We do have some different terrain to us which is available. Now, this section over here is rough terrain. I'm just going to draw that again. So this section over here is rough terrain. Probably some of the best terrain that we actually have available to us to be used. But if we take a look at this, so obviously we have our defensive line here. What we need to take a look at then is what would be our secondary line. I'm going to draw this in blue this time. Maybe this quite easy to see. What we need to do as well, we need to consider is the rail lines. Now notice I have plenty of rail lines heading, well, plenty obviously within Germany. A decent amount within Poland, not a huge amount, but certainly a decent amount. So what we have to do then is we need to make sure that we maintain these lines running from north to south. We have many going from west to east, but we don't have many going from north to south. As you can see over here, this is rather dangerous. So the line that we absolutely do need to hold then is this one I'm going to draw in blue. That is a line that we must hold. That is a line that's going to keep our troops supplied on the front lines. And rather interestingly, it's a line that's going to make it difficult for the Soviets to advance. If we actually can keep that line to ourselves, the Soviets are going to find it a little bit harder to move in these areas, as their choice of logistics is rather limited, especially in this area. Sure, they'll be able to pull from the rail yards, but when you have thousands upon thousands of troops, it is more difficult. There's a greater demand there. So, speaking of which, this would probably be the best way to form our secondary line. What we'll have to do then is really hope for the best, as in all honesty, there is very little here. If I was to hazard a guess, the Soviets will be trying to advance in this area. I would say their best plan is to advance along Vistula and sort of hook from the north and then to the south to hit Lodz. I would say this is where the Soviets are going to be pushing. And if we take a look at the actual forces on the map, we can see that they do have a great concentration of strength here. And this is by far our weakest point, as we have very little in the way. So this is where the main push is going to come from. We do have considerable forces here. So this is certainly what we were trying to do from before, actually. Bromberg, indeed. Indeed. Bromberg is certainly under threat. That is honestly without a doubt. Without a shadow of doubt, that is a true piece of information. What we need to do then is work out how best we can defend against the situation. So the reason why I was looking for forces to have as a reserve is so that we can have them sent out to situations like this. So we do luckily have, what do we have in our rail pool? So 17,640. What I'll do then is actually move infantry rather than armour. Sure, it would be great to move armour, but I need to get the infantry in place. I need to actually fill these gaps in with numbers, men, rather than machines at the moment. So what we will do then is potentially... Well, let's see what we have available to us in the actual situation. This isn't too bad. Now, if I was to say where the main Soviet strength is, where their main striking power, that would certainly be this area. That was really bad. I really can't draw for shit sometimes. Yes, this is their most powerful. Then of course down here, but we'll ignore that for the time being. I think we can hold this. I don't know if we'll actually need further troops. We'll see how we go. So what we'll do then is we'll pull the artillery to the rear. They're going to move. They're going to be made on... They're going to be set to reserve so they can actually help out the forces nearby. Indeed. Right. This division will move to this area here. So this area is rather weak right now. These forces are unready, so they cannot be thrown in combat. They need to sit out of the action for some time. What I'll do is I'll actually move my forces over here. So I'll move the core headquarters this way. I'm going to pull back to the swamp area over here, as it is actually superior defensive terrain. It does definitely help us out that way. I think we do have a potential fighting chance here. I don't want to be sending extra troops if I can avoid it, actually. The idea I'd like to go for is actually having a reserve army built up. So the idea being that we could even potentially use it for counter-offensives. A counter-offensive is a must. We must launch a counter-offensive at some point in the future. What we're trying to do now is actually tease this the Soviets out into throwing away their hand in a nutshell. Okay, these forces need to move in. It's a shame to throw in depleted forces, but we simply need to cover that. If I have the security forces nearby, that'd be very good to have. Alright, they're unable to reach that location. Do I have a spare division anywhere? I do have this division. Sorry. They can't reach. Okay, may very well be a simple case of assigning the Panzer Division over to this area, having them sent to reserve. I need to hold on to this. This is a bad situation. Yeah, we are certainly going to pull back out of that pocket. Now, the issue here is we are losing a lot of our fortification in this area. And it really does come down to the question of narrowing our front line down. I can't give up too much ground, but I need to give up ground where it does actually make tactical sense. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to pull out with the 132nd. I think what I'll do is actually move them into the port over here. And what I'll do with these forces then is I'll move the 121st to this location. The 87th. The 87th actually could form a reserve. Okay, the 87th will move back over here. Hello there, my friend. How are we doing? Okay, now the Panzer Grenadiers are actually freed up, which is quite good. Is there a way to move all forces in Latvia into Poland? We could try to transport forces out of here, but I actually do need to hold on to objectives within the Kurland pocket, otherwise I'm going to be losing VPs. At the end of the day, I need to have these VPs to actually win the game. And I do believe in the Kurland pocket. I believe it can be held. I love a good defense. I love a good desperate defense. So you will be set to reserve. These forces will move here as well. So what we've done here is we've actually strengthened our position quite drastically. In fact, I'm actually going to move the Panzer Grenadier. Well, then again, yes, I'm going to move the Panzer Grenadier. No, we do have the division here. Okay, so this division will be moved down here as well. The reasoning for that is that does give us a real strong position there. Okay, the small security detachment is really not worth much. Yeah, there's a lot of troops here in a very small area. What does intrigue me here is, do I actually pull back from this position? But if I do lose this level 3 fortification. Do I launch a small-scale counter-offensive? The numbers facing us over here in Kurland aren't as dire as it would first seem, really. They do have great numbers, but in fact they are taking forces elsewhere. So that's good. We might actually be able to attempt a breakout one day. If we actually do hold on to East Prussia, that is certainly a possibility. I think what could be quite intriguing is the idea of a potential counter-offensive. So I think what we will do then is actually pull our armoured forces up into this area here. Now then. Okay, I will throw in the security force over here just to add a little bit extra men. End of the day, that does mean extra bodies here into the fight. We need to launch counter-offensives. There simply is no other solution. We need to launch a good counter-offensive. The idea here is we are going to build up our panzer strengths, we are going to build up our panzer grenadiers and the panzers here in this area. And ideally, it is certainly possible, in my opinion, it is indeed possible, that we can actually potentially... Well, what I'm thinking here is, allow the Soviets to push over here. What I want to do then is actually launch a counterstroke and head them off at the coast. I want to trap them and pin them against the coastline. So then we have a small pocket here that I can try to actually annihilate, ideally as soon as possible. We need to actually use the geography to our advantage, and I think we could potentially do something like that. So the panzers will be built up in this area. And I'm really half tempted to take the panzer division out of here. Okay, I do have further security forces over here, which is actually fantastic. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is take these security forces. 12 and 13. Okay. Have you changed hands? Yeah. That's a good point being raised there. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to create a fortified position. The reason for that is that rough terrain is actually the best piece of defensive terrain I actually have here. So ideally I'd like to make that one day usable. The same as over here too. Actually, these fortified zones are becoming more expensive now. Okay. So we'll have to stick to that for the time being, which isn't the greatest, it's not what I would want, but it will do for now. This position I can hold. I can really hold this without too much of an issue. You have nobody to actually command over here. Now that's rather intriguing. Okay. Right. So this call will be assigned to the 9th Army. Heavy use of actual command points there, but it will certainly be useful. Okay, these 3 divisions over here. I can move them all via rail, which is fantastic. So move the first one over here. As well as the second two in this area. Off the trains. Okay, have you assigned to the LW Corps? Okay, so I wasn't hoping to actually assign more troops to the area, but I think the addition of another 3 infantry divisions will be potentially sufficient to hold the line. This area is rather shaky. Okay. Actually, what I'll do, assign the 35th Division this way. The 7th Panzer Division will be used as a reserve formation. Now, this area is certainly under threat. So what we'll do is we'll have them pull back. Have them in reserve. I will establish a fortified position here, as well as these towns. Okay. The reasoning for these fortified positions is really to try and establish anchor points. I want them to start digging in. That would be the best situation. Okay. Now, the music is a little bit too light in my opinion, so let's try something else. Oh, right, here we go. We have a track entitled Defeat. That sounds about right. Okay. So what I'm doing here, as I don't have that many troops in the area, is I'm actually building up their depth, which could be rather intriguing. I can pull back the forces over here. So we do have an actual core that I can pull back to a safe position, thankfully. The Panzer Grenadiers do need to be moved to the rear. I do not want them on the front lines. They need to be used as a reserve formation. Same as the Panzers. Now, this is a really dangerous area. I think what we're going to have to do then is actually shift the focus to this area, of course. Okay, move these forces to the rear. Right, from that division. Okay. Pull back from that position there. This is such a bad situation. Oh boy. Right, we do have plenty of armor in this area, so at least that is something. We're going to pull back from that pocket. But what we need to do here is we need to absolutely prevent the Soviet armor. This is by far the most dangerous area here. The Soviets have a lot of armor, a heck of a lot of armor concentrated right here. There's multiple armored cores. The Soviets are going to try and force their way through to Lodz. What I need to do is I need to bar that entry. I need to actually try to hold them in this way and force them to go either to the north or to the south, but I simply cannot allow them to go to Lodz. I need to bar that way. And that is by far easier said than done. So we'll move that division to the front there. Right, okay. 45th, 45th. Right, we have the 45th here as well. So the 45th Division will move here. Right, so I'm going to have them assigned to a different command as well. The reason will become more apparent in the future. Where's their headquarters? Okay, here we go. So what I'm trying to do here is actually have them under separate commands for different objectives, really. What we'll do in the future as well is we'll color code them. So what we'll try to do then is have the... What I need to do is actually get like a red, green, blue sort of chart, or whatever you call it, with the actual numbers of the colours. Then what we'll do is we'll have the front really color coded, so at least that'll make things really quite easy to see and understand. Okay, Panzer Grenadiers and headquarters needs to pull back. These forces I need to get the heck out of here. Armoured forces are a priority. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to disband these fortified positions. They're somewhat getting in the way. There we go, disband. Yeah, they need to absolutely pull back. I think I'm actually going to have to use the panzers on the front line here. The reason being I need to actually prevent the envelopment of those 2 infantry divisions. This is certainly a very, very dangerous situation. Okay. I really do like that suggestion there, Von Bishop. Right. I do have a force I could send from Breslau. Which, thankfully, is going to be able to reach the location. So this is an extra 4 divisions assigned to this area. And this is just the bare minimum we need. Okay. What I need to do here is I actually need to, Well there, Corrupt Dog. I do stream a lot of War and Pacific on my own channel, which is XTRG on YouTube, so if you want to check that out. But yes, back to the game here. So what I'm trying to do here is we are trying to make the most of a sticky situation. We don't have enough forces here to actually hold the center per se. So what I'm trying to do is actually entice the Soviets to head to the north. If I leave myself purposely light on the ground here, that is going to actually work out to our advantage. I don't want to have them push upon Lodz. So if I leave myself light on the ground here, i.e. using these brigades and small forces, then that is actually going to work out to my advantage. I want to form a solid wall here. I don't want the Soviets to actually choose the point of hard resistance. I want them to take the Blackwater. I want them to flow. I want them to flow to the north. I want to form something here that's going to be solid. So the idea here is we have our infantry on the front line, which are going to get smashed. They're absolutely going to get smashed. But we have a second line form of armoured forces. They're going to be set to reserve, and obviously once they become the front line, then they of course will be in a frontline duty, of course. The idea here is we want to slow them down. It's like, imagine... okay, so let's say that we're on the beach. Now, I want you guys to imagine we're on the beach together. You don't want to know what I look like, I'm just a spectral voice talking to you at the beach. No, you're not going crazy, you're just having a good day. So now, I want you to imagine you're digging your hands into the sand. So yes, imagine you, let's say you punch the sand. You can get through the first layers, you can condense the first layers, but that depth will stop you. You can't get through that depth. Oh, there, thank you very much there, friend. That really does mean a lot. Yes, indeed, we are on a beach together. This is that kind of stream. It's a good way to get across an analogy. Don't say I don't make things interesting. Okay, so I think that's probably the strangest way I could have got my point across, but I think it's actually quite a good one. Oh, dearie dear. Okay. It's difficult here because we really don't have that many troops here in the centre. I think what we're going to have to do is actually transfer the Panzer Grenadiers down to the south here. I really am worried about this position right here. This is by far the weakest position. So I will transfer even further armoured forces. I mean, we do have 2 Panzer Divisions over here, which are by far the greatest thing I have right now. What I'm going to do then is... we'll transfer... this is a difficult situation. Okay. The Brandenburg Hansa Grenadier Division will be moved to this area. The idea is I want to make sure that this is absolutely solid. We cannot have anything get around out here. I think what we may do then is consider a extra division here. Really think that's probably the best we're going to get. Okay. So I'm going to have you assigned to the 40th Corps. You know, I've not been to a, yeah, I can't remember the last time I went to the beach, actually. It's been a long time. I really wish I could get these forces out of here. Okay, let's see what we can do. This is... this is a bad situation. Krakow is actually under threat here. I need extra forces here. Okay. What do I have in my rail pool? I still have a decent amount. So what I'm going to do is actually transfer this division up this way. Take them off the train. Have the 75th Infantry Division assigned here. Okay, I still have 2 infantry divisions, that's fantastic. Right, we'll have a small reserve here. Oh, that's rather poor. Oh, right, okay, so it seems like the Hungarians have actually surrendered here, but if I can judge things correctly. As I've not seen any Hungarian forces, but only seen German forces. Okay, now, things have certainly heated up in that respect. Well, that makes things intriguing. Oh boy. Oh boy. Bloody hell, they're powerful. Right, so this is the... Right, we need to assign them to the 1st Panzer Army. We'll have these forces assigned to their local corps command. It's a shame that we've lost the Hungarians, it seems. If we go to our order of battle... Yeah, the Hungarians have surrendered, it seems. That certainly is going to make things rather interesting. Oh, I hate Windows. Okay. We're having some severe command issues here. First Panzer Army. I don't know what we're going to be able to do about the south. This is a difficult situation. I was actually counting on those Hungarian troops there. I think what we do then is we actually fall back in part. We do still have superb defensive positions here. I mean, we dug in? We are dug in, and that is really hard to give up these positions. What we'll do then is we'll actually contemplate where we could fall back then. If I fall back here, clear mountains. Okay, let's fall back to these mountain positions. Yeah, we can't circle them here right now. That's certainly not going to happen. Right, we need to move out to the clear terrain. Sure, we are giving up really good defensive positions, but at the end of the day, when in clear and open terrain, that does not work for me. Okay, form that division. Okay, so we've drawn here. We've obviously lost some terrain. We've obviously lost some breathing space, I suppose you could say. But at the end of the day, we are going to be pushed back into the Tatra Mountains, which are incredibly good. I'd be rather happy if we could hold on to that. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to build a couple fortified zones to start building some fortifications up, ideally. That would be quite nice. The army is going to move here. I do have some small forces available to us. Right, we'll reactivate the Tatra Panzer Division. We'll have them refit for the time being. Okay. Actually, what we'll do here then. Head to Krakow. I'm going to assign you some extra Panzerjägers. This command, what do we have available? Construction battalions. Not exactly great. I still have some ability to move troops. I could move this infantry division over here. I mean, this is going to crumple. That is absolutely going to crumple. So what we're going to do then is we're actually going to deploy these forces into the center here. I want them to act as a actual buffer. I need them to be that strength behind the lines. And that's an actually somewhat decent division. It's not the strongest by far, but it's not the weakest either. We can move further Luftwaffe forces into the area too, which would be quite beneficial. I do have a lot of forces built up over here, actually. But I'm going to keep them held back for now. I want to actually see what we could do with them. But the Luftwaffe forces, we will move here. We'll move them into the Lodz area. Right, we'll move them via rail to get them into position quickly. These extra forces will have to move via road. Okay. So we do have further Luftwaffe forces in the area now. I do have the 20th SS Grenadier Division. Let's have them move over. Now, let's see. I do have the 9th Volkskamjägers. Refit. They need to be reactivated. So we'll reactivate the Holstein Panzer Division. I do have a few forces over here. We do have the Marine Infantry Division. We do have this division. So I'm going to react... Well, they're reactive, actually. We'll begin to move them. Ooh, I do have this Panzer Division. So we are going to reactivate this division, of course. They are very, very light on armor. A lot of these forces are, to be honest. But we will have them reactivated nonetheless. Danzig has a Volksgrenadier division. I could do moving that towards the front lines. Okay, so overall we have been battered and bruised here. Absolutely battered and bruised. Führer Grenadier Panzerdivision. Führer Grenadier Panzergrenadier Division. Beautiful name. Right, we'll have you change hands. What we'll do in future turns is we'll see how this turns out. I do have a lot of forces in such a small area. This has been consolidated slightly. I think this is going to be a heck of a lot more defensible than previously. What we also need to do is actually leave this clear terrain open. What I want to do is I want the Soviets to... Actually, I want them to move this way. If I can have them move that way, that would be fantastic. I do really want to launch a counter-offensive, and we need to figure out where we're going to do that. We are sadly having to give up ground in certain areas, but we are remaining somewhat combat effective in the vast majority of points. So we will go through a second turn of absolute agony. So then, let's take a look at the losses in the air, actually. Yeah, I can't pronounce these names. I'm not very good like that. I'm not very good with my pronunciations of foreign languages. I do try. I do try. I think it's the accent. If I do the accent right, at least it might sound okay. I'm sure you guys will forgive me. Right, let's see here our production. Yeah, Hungary surrendered. That is no good. Alfred Jodl took command of Army Group A. Intriguing. Army Group Vistula. Okay, at least we won't be exporting armaments to Hungary anymore. You know, it's rather funny when we see the actual numbers here. So we can see here that we have 103 tigers, we have 85 king tigers. We do have one in the pool, we have another 5 king tigers in the pool, so they're basically unassigned. They're ready to be assigned. We do require another 38 tigers to actually bring about table equipment. These are rather rough numbers. Certainly rough numbers. Yeah, well, that is it. What does that mean for the Hungarian troops in Slovakia? It seems they have been... Well, they are no longer here. So that's easy refit. Okay, let's see. Normal replacements. That's not very good, is it? Yes, you can see here Soviet morale is a lot higher. Okay. So definitely not a good result there. So what we'll do then is we'll go through our next turn here and really be ready to experience the pain. Which is certainly coming. I cannot actually describe how much pain is coming right now.